The EPP Group called on EU governments to agree to impose retaliatory tariffs on certain US goods in response to the US move to raise tariffs on steel and aluminium. MEPs reacted after Italy and Malta both refused to let the Aquarius, a ship crammed with migrants, to dock in their countries. And MEPs gave their green light to an update of EU legislation that aims to improve civil aviation safety.
Hello and welcome to our roundup of the European Parliament's latest plenary session here in Strasbourg. We begin with the EU-US trade row and future EU trade relations.
In plenary, MEPs debated subjects such as trade, which will be part of discussions by EU leaders at their next summit at the end of June. In late May, the US imposed tariffs on aluminium and steel imports from the EU and other countries. EPP Group Chairman Manfred Weber urged EU governments to support the European Commission's approach to impose retaliatory tariffs on certain US goods.
Die Handelsfragen, ein Thema, das viele umtreibt, die ihre Jobs derzeit bangen. Da braucht Europa volle Rückendeckung für die Europäische Kommission. Die Tarife auf Alu und Stahl sind ohne Grund verhängt worden und deswegen geschlossene Gegenmaßnahmen, so wie die Kommission sie angestoßen hat, sind der richtige Weg. Wir erwarten vom Rat, dass das voll unterstützt wird.
He added that the EU needs to accelerate its trade negotiations with other partners.
Ich möchte noch ergänzen, dass derzeit für uns Europäer auch eine Reihe von Chancen durch die Problematik mit Amerika entstehen. Wir haben also viele Partner, die nach wie vor für den regelbasierten Handel eintreten. Und mit denen sollten wir reden, ins Gespräch kommen und schnellstens mit Japan, mit Mexiko, mit Mercosur die Verträge abschließen, die jetzt realistisch sind.
Next, MEPs expressed dismay at how some governments have handled a humanitarian crisis involving migrants.
This week, the Italian and Maltese governments refused to allow the Aquarius, a ship packed with over 600 migrants, to dock in their countries. During a debate in plenary about their priorities for the next EU summit in June, some MEPs branded this decision as a disgrace and a scandal. MEP Roberta Metsola, the EPP Group's coordinator in the Parliament's Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs Committee, set out the nature of the challenge and what to do with proposed increased EU funding in this area to find solutions.
Well, it's a bit of a history repeating itself, where governments, prime ministers are quibbling over who should be responsible for people being rescued before they die in the sea. It's yet another summer and yet another realization that we have done nothing to alleviate the situation or find solutions to the massive, if not the biggest challenge that the European Union is facing. We welcome the tripling of the budget by the European Commission as being proposed for border control, for asylum and migration in general, but that has to go, first of all, to make sure that people's security concerns are alleviated. Secondly, to make sure that people do not die in our seas. How do we do that? How do we manage to tackle the smugglers, to stop the trafficking? These are proposals that the European People's Party is looking at.
In the immediate mid-term, she also called for national governments to agree to fairer and better rules for handling asylum applications across the EU, and had ideas for the longer term.
But we also need to see longer term, how we are going to understand that the influx of migrants will continue to happen, and how are we going to prevent the inevitable arrivals on the territory of the European Union.
And finally, boosting airline safety across the European Union.
MEPs voted to update European Union legislation designed to improve airline safety. Around 1 billion passengers travel by plane in the EU every year. The vote gives the European aviation authorities powers to certify all safety-related equipment at airports, introduces a risk-based approach for safety inspections, and allows the agency to advise and intervene with national aviation authorities in case of problems. EPP Group MEP Marian-Jean Marinescu, the European Parliament's rapporteur on this issue, explained more.
EPP message was everything is done for the passenger, for the safety of passengers. It's a big step forward regarding safety, because there are new aspects of the industry, new components of the industry that are now in, like, for example, safety equipment connected with safety on the airports, ground handling, that now will be certified.
He added that the EU's Aviation Safety Agency, EASA, will be able to give guidance about flying over conflict zones and so hopefully avoid planes being shot down in the future, as happened in Ukraine in 2014. Mr. Marinescu explained that that was an EPP idea, as was another proposal agreed by MEPs that in future it will be possible to download flight recorder data to the ground immediately.
Why to look for the black box in the bottom of the sea in 2018 and to find it after 1 month or 3 months or 2 years, when you can send automatically to the ground for an aircraft in distress all data, which means that if you will be there and you will be lucky in case of an accident to survive, everybody will know in the next second where you are.
So that's all for now from the Strasbourg plenary session. Find out more about the largest political force in the European Parliament by checking out eppgroup.eu. Thanks for watching and see you next time.